Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Meet the People. My name is David Feiner. I am the Communication Technology Manager in the City of Pittsburgh's Department of Innovation and Performance. Today we have something we've never done on this show before, and instead of just interviewing one person or two people, I have an entire office of people. And once we go to the crowd shot, you will see all these smiling, happy, wonderful people who make up the Office of Community Health and Safety. If you've been watching the show for a while, you will say to yourself, I've seen two of those faces before, and that's correct. Laura Dragowski and Alex Aboud are back on the show, but instead of being here by themselves, they are here as part of this wonderful group of people. So first thing I want to do is do a round robin. Everybody introduces themselves, and what you're going to do is you're going to say your name, your title, and what is your favorite flavor of ice cream. Can everybody handle that? Is that good? I got a lot of nods of heads. Okay, so let's start with Laura. Please introduce yourself, your title, and your favorite flavor of ice cream.
So easy. Thank you, David. My name is Laura Dragowski. I'm the manager of the office, and my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate peanut butter cup every time. And we always call this popcorning people, David. So
yes,
I'll popcorn my colleague, Eric.
Okay.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Williams. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Office of Community Health and Safety. And my favorite type of ice cream is probably the birthday cake ice cream. Is my favorite. So, popcorn, Malaysia.
I just knew you were going to say me. Thanks, Eric. My name is Malaysia Smith. I am the Lead and Diversion Community Engagement Coordinator for the Office of Community Health and Safety. And my favorite ice cream has to be Twix flavor. And I am going to introduce Brennan.
Thank you, Malaysia. My name is Brennan Coleman, the Operations Administrator within OCHS, and my favorite flavor of ice cream is strawberry cheesecake, bar none. I will popcorn to Josh.
Well, thanks, Brennan. My name is Josh Schneider. I'm the Overdose Prevention Coordinator in our office. And I'd have to say my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough. I'll popcorn it over to Dana.
Hello, my name is Dana Brooks. I am the master's level social worker intern for the office. I work under Sheila Roth, and I will popcorn over to Sheila. Oh, my favorite ice cream is butter pecan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sheila Roth, and I am the Continuum of Support Program Manager. And my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate chip.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandra Aboud. I'm the Social Work Manager in the Office of Community Health and Safety. And my favorite ice cream is chocolate peanut butter every time. Popcorn, Camila.
Thank you, Alex. I'm Camila Alarcon-Chalecki, and I am the lead/diversion project coordinator. And my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip on a waffle cone. I'm gonna popcorn to Alina.
Hi, my name is Alina Chulik, and I'm the Viborg AmeriCorps Vista member. And I think my favorite ice cream would have to be a turtle.
Well, thank you. Now I know what I'm having for dinner tonight with all these different flavors. So that's great. Just as a refresher, Laura, let's start with you. I know we talked about this a number of months ago, but what is the Office of Community Health and Safety? How did it get started? And what's your role?
This is an initiative, a series of initiatives and programs long in the making. When I began working with the administration very early on, I had a chance, a privilege to spend time with a lot of our first responders and our community members, all of whom recognized that they were engaged in situations that they weren't always well trained or supported to address. And we often think of, what first responders are tasked with doing and the challenges our community members are often facing. And so fire is going to respond to fire, a landslide, help with lift assists. There's a number of things they do, but there is a circumscribed set of calls to which they respond. EMS, these are medical emergencies and non-emergency, but medically related calls. And really the remainder of the calls go to police, and that's a too large to try to qualify or even quantify the numbers of types of calls. So we recognize that we needed additional responders and supports in these calls. And certainly our country, I think, came to recognize that as well over the last year and a half. So we proposed this office in the middle of last year, and it was announced in October. We began working in January with our first hire, Dr. Roth, in May, and really have hit our stride since, with all of the amazing colleagues you're seeing today and a number of positions that we will be hopefully hiring additional colleagues, our social work, community social work team, our public health program manager, our continuous work project manager, and our overdose prevention VISTA member. The objective of our office is multifold. I think the most important piece, and not to say everybody's work isn't important, but is listening to the community and listening to our first responders, and not just listening, but making sure that our community members are engaged. That this isn't just a one and done kind of tap in, get the feedback, and never build a relationship. And that's what, Malaysia, Camila, Eric, and everyone else in the office really focus on. So community is critical. First responder experiences are critical. We know that they're in the community every day, seeing calls all day, and that's important exposure. So we think of what can we do upstream to prevent an interaction with public safety that could not be therapeutic or helpful. What can we do to ensure that the right responder is always on scene and always there to support our community members and promote safety? And what can we do after the fact to help people to be stabilized, right? Or help to actually promote thriving, because we know that there are a number of people who have these recurrent engagements. So the people you see here and the team members we'll be adding in the next month are really going to round that opportunity out for the city, which is not something that we've been able to do in the past. And we've had a ton of support from the public safety department, from the mayoral administration, and from first responders individually. And we also have had really tremendous engagement with our community members as well.
That's fantastic. And I think what's most interesting about everything that you've said is that you are all the city's first ever fill in the blank, because the city has never had this before. Is that a correct statement? Let me just make sure I'm correct in saying that first. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of head nodding. So I'm going to ask everybody, and please try not to repeat each other, but what's it like to be the city's first ever fill in the blank?
I think it's exciting. There is a lot of pressure maybe to it, but like healthy pressure, right? Like this is something that's been needed for so long. So you feel the weight of that, and you feel the weight of our community that hasn't had the resource that it's needed and hasn't been served in the way that it's needed to be served. So it comes with a lot of healthy pressure, but I'm glad it does, because that's what keeps us motivated to get the work done. We are motivated by that. We know our community has been underserved, and it excites me, and I think I can speak for everybody when I say it excites all of us.
Does anybody else want to piggyback off of that?
I will. For me, the word that comes to mind is it's a privilege. I am really just honored and excited about this opportunity. And to me, it feels like, a lot of people are counting on us to make a difference. And I feel the privilege to be able to be in this role.
And to piggyback off of Sheila, I think it's exciting to be in this role and honored to be in this role with so many smart, passionate people. And I think a lot of this work has been done throughout the city and elsewhere for a long time, but bring those fresh eyes to some of the issues that we've been dealing with for a very long time is something that really gets me worked up and excited with. So that's my piece.
I think adding to Eric's point, during my interviews, Laura asked me what type of environment I thrived in. And I described exactly the environment we're in, which is very collaborative without having groupthink. There's a lot of individuals who have different skills. And although we have the same common goal, there's just different perspectives of approaching it. And we just are very independent in how we view things, but we keep pushing each other to have this collective common good. And so that is an environment that I don't think a lot of people have the opportunity to be part of. And it just is going to create a lot of innovative and progressive policies that will definitely serve the community.
And just to add to Camilla, I would definitely say everyone in this office is determined. You have people who worked for the city for years and the people who are just coming on, but we all have the same goal, as well as just creating different options and pathways for residents to continue to be healthy and safety.
All right. So the reason I asked that question, the reason I asked about being the first ever is when I was promoted in the Department of Innovation and Performance as the Communication Technology Manager, I was the first one to have this job. And I remember on my first day, I asked the question, can I, and then asked a bunch of questions like that. And my boss at the time said, the answer is always going to be yes, because even though you have a job description, you're kind of writing your own rules. So do you feel that as well, even though you each have job descriptions, that you're kind of making your own rules as you go along and seeing what fits?
So I can tell you on my first day in this role, Laura provided me a list of, my responsibilities, but, then she also added that, well, like really you can kind of shape the role as you see fit because no one has held this role before. And that's like kind of freeing in a way because, any, I guess, like cool idea that I find online, I'll send it to Laura, I'll send it to the rest of the office. And there's so much encouragement, to pursue those different avenues of approaching problems and situations. And everyone is so supportive of it. And, it's just really freeing. That's the best way to describe it.
It's always good to work in have a work environment where you feel not only connected, but that your voice is valued. I feel like that makes a much better work environment, especially with what's happened the last year and a half. It helps make what could be a really not great work environment a lot better. Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that something you agree with?
No, I mean, I fully agree with what you're saying. I think, I think that, while people have thought about, a lot of these issues, Pittsburgh hasn't directly focused on them as much as we are now. So that takes, looking at what different cities do, that takes, speaking with different cities, with different service providers and other partners to bring in a holistic set of knowledge, to actually trying to solve these problems. And they won't be solved in a day. They're systemic really, but, having the opportunity and the freedom to pursue those creative solutions is it's a good feeling. It really is.
Alina, you're a member of the team as a Vista member. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and how you're helping the team?
Sure. Do you want me to focus more on like what AmeriCorps is, or do you want me to explain like my position? Because I can do both.
Sure. Yes and yes.
Okay, so AmeriCorps Vista is a year-long term of service where you go in and you build capacity for organizations of nonprofits or government agencies or NGOs. And so by coming into the Office of Community Health and Safety, I'm working on a web app called Bigberg, and I could show you here.
Ooh, we know all about Bigberg.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource in order to get connected with all different kinds of resources like housing or legal services or access to food banks. Right now, I'm working on compiling a list of free Thanksgiving meals available to the public. And from there, I want to find more resources to include on it and spread awareness of Bigberg so more people can use it and then get access to the resources that they need.
That's fantastic. Dana, as an intern for the office, what is your role and what are you working on?
My role is to basically help out in the community social work and with the high utilizers under Dr. Sheila Roth. And I also, every once in a while, will help out Alexandra in her domestic violence piece. And basically, I just go out and get the referrals from Sheila and the first responders and go out and make appointments with the clients and individuals who need help. So in whatever that case may be, I see them in their homes, in their situations, and sometimes I'll see things that they haven't even thought about that they need. And I just basically follow them into that process and help them and call the resources and connect the dots for them.
That's great. And you're enjoying your time here. Alina and Daniel, you're both enjoying your time so far?
Definitely.
I love working here. It's so great.
You don't have to brown nose because Laura's sitting here. It's okay. It's just you and me. Nobody else is listening, I promise. So I want to move on. Josh, you originally started with the city working in the mayor's office, if I remember correctly. Talk about what your role was in the mayor's office and what your role is now, and how are they different? How are they the same?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So I started also as an AmeriCorps Vista, just like Alina did, or is right now. And I was doing overdose prevention, which is very similar to what I'm doing now, under Laura when she was the critical communities manager in the mayor's office. So when I first came in, I was using a lot of my background and experience as a paramedic and also studying emergency medicine as an undergrad to begin by getting a better handle on the scope of the opioid overdose crisis in the city of Pittsburgh. We have pretty good data resources from the county, but it wasn't really sufficient to have real-time public health intervention. So I wanted to build out a dashboard that showed near real-time opioid overdose data from Pittsburgh EMS to allow us to have targeted public health interventions. And so a lot of the time in AmeriCorps Vista, among other things, was spent to build up that dashboard, to create a data surveillance system, and then gain a lot of insights from that data, and then work to build the framework for program implementation that I would then pursue when I entered my new role as the overdose prevention coordinator in this office. So that has informed a lot of the work that I'm doing now. And I can give a few examples if that's helpful, but that's really the scope of what I did in AmeriCorps Vista and then how it led to what I'm doing now.
So talk about some of those examples.
Sure. So one example right off the bat is when we created this public-facing dashboard, which you can find on our website, little plug there. We saw that at least 65% of patients did not have any data collected in them about their race or ethnicity. Now, this was just a field that wasn't mandatory in the EMS charts reporting process, and we knew that to have that information would allow us to look through all these causes through a lens of racial equity that could inform a lot of the programs that we're doing and make sure that everything we do is equitable. So we worked with people in Pittsburgh EMS to make sure that this was a mandatory field. That was one insight. Another was the fact that only on all overdose calls, only Narcan was given only 3% of the time by police, despite police being on scene for a vast number of these calls. So we are working right now, and we have gotten them just in the mail the past couple of weeks to get Narcan holsters for our police officers so that they have Narcan on them at all times. Also working to train every City of Pittsburgh employee that interacts with the public on a regular basis to be trained to use Narcan and have access to it, so that in the event they come into contact with someone who's having an overdose, they can act and save a life. And then one last one I'll mention is something we're calling the pre-hospital buprenorphine program, which is the first program in Pennsylvania, the third in the country, to allow paramedics to administer a medication called buprenorphine or Suboxone to patients with opioid withdrawal. And this is informed by the dashboard and the data we collected because we found that only 70% of the patients decided to go to the hospital after an overdose, leaving this big access gap of 30% of patients who didn't get connected with any resources after they experienced an overdose. We wanted to make sure that even if they decide not to go to the hospital, which is an honorable decision to make, we could still provide them with resources, even if they made that decision. So that's just a little window into some of the work that I've been doing.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're not very busy. You don't have a lot to do.
I wouldn't say that. I definitely stay busy, but it's really exciting work, and I'm really, really privileged to be doing it.
And David, if I could just add, Josh also was very instrumental in the city's fentanyl test strip decriminalization executive order, and that came from some, other public safety data that indicated that people who, many people who use opioids are aware that there's a risk that there's fentanyl either contaminating or cut into the supply. But people who don't expect to have an opioid and maybe never do use opioids have had, I think there's a bug in my office, which suits me. They don't expect to have an opioid in their supply, and it puts them at very, very high risk, not only of overdose, but of fatal overdose, which obviously is something that is never acceptable and should never happen. So Josh worked with the mayor's office to move that legislation or that executive order forward, which was the second in the state, and is gonna, I think, open us up to a lot more opportunities to distribute life-saving supplies.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Eric, the last time I saw you, you were working in the Office of Community Affairs, and you're now in the Office of Community Health and Safety, but it seems as though you're doing some of the same work. Can you do same kind of question as I posed to Josh? Can you talk about similarities, contrast, and compare the two offices and what you're doing now?
Sure, yeah. So I worked in the Office of Community Affairs before for last 2.5 years, going on 3. And some of that work was in community engagement, being and going to community meetings throughout the month that they held every month. So these are usually registered community groups that are registered with the city. They go through a whole process. In addition to that, they ran different programs like Snow Angels. I feel like at this point, Snow Angels might be a household name at this point in Pittsburgh and elsewhere. City Cuts, another program we have that gives, those services are for seniors. Snow removal for Snow Angels, and City Cuts is for giving free seniors lawn care service. Handle the intake, run the program from start to finish as far as Snow Angels is concerned, and Love Your Block and other programs that we had in the city. Love Your Block is something that we give $1,500 to community members in order to do beautification projects throughout their neighborhoods. That program has been running for several years now, and it's still running this year. So, and then the biggest thing of all was kitchen station issues. So I will handle calls that came in regularly every day through email, Facebook, Nextdoor, you name it. Any communication channel that we had, we responded to those folks and try to handle whatever issues that came up. And that involves maybe the road needs paved, or there's a tree in the middle of the road. We would connect the dots and make sure those issues. A lot of these issues would go through the 311, the mayor's hotline for constituent issues, but a lot of those issues that came to us were needed to be escalated or a little bit more complicated. So, and that we kind of troubleshoot those and trying to give solutions, working with the Chief Gilman and others to make sure that was possible. So now currently in this new role, which I'm super excited about and super excited to work with these people that are on this video right now, but I will be doing community engagement, which that is a way less work. And I'm able to like really focus on building those relationships in the community that I already did have in the beginning while working with the mayor's office and community affairs, but in Office of Community Health and Safety, I'm able to fine tune those relationships and kind of focus on the health and safety of the community. So that work is going to mostly involve going to community meetings like I did in the past, but that's also going to involve collecting data about the specific concerns about safety. And it may not involve the pavement or the tree that fell down during the storm, but it very well be that way as well. We're all trying to build trust in the community, so getting creative about that. And there is the reality is that we've been kind of touching base with the same people over time throughout the community. So, and the whole idea of meeting people where they are, there's folks that are not engaged with the city and have distrust in the city. So we're trying to build that trust and build those relationships stronger with the youth and other folks that don't usually engage with. So,
as you mentioned, you're probably interacting with some of the same people or groups of people. So I imagine from their perspective, it's nice to have a familiar face and or voice doing this job now than before. Is that a correct assumption?
No, that's definitely right on. The people that I've connected to already have already been reaching out to me continuously. So I continue to do that same work that I've done in the past, and I'm excited to do that work. I want to do this work, so that's why I'm here. But definitely building on those relationships, and hopefully they connect me to new people that want to get involved now.
Right.
As things change throughout time. Yeah.
That's great. Let's move over to my absolute best friend in the whole world, Alex. Last time we talked, you were in public safety, and you talked about the challenges of doing. You were one person doing the job of about 75 or 76 people. I can't remember the number exactly. Now that you've moved over OCHS, what has changed or what has stayed the same in your roles?
Well, first off, I was gonna be really upset if you said somebody else's name after your absolute best friend. I threw up the peace sign and I was like, oh my gosh, what if he rejected me as his best friend and chose somebody new?
Right.
Opposite of Eric, I feel like it's way more work. No, it's been great. So essentially we took the work that I was already doing and I brought it here with me to OCHS. So the victims assistance work has been integrated into one of our buckets or our areas of service in the continuum of support program. So it's been kind of integrated into our post-engagement area. So I still do the victim service work for now. I work very closely with Dr. Sheila Roth on kind of creating and implementing this continuum of support program. And then we are currently recruiting and hiring 6 social workers. So once those social workers come on, they will take on that direct practice, and I will then oversee them and supervise them in their work. So as of now, it's still the same work, but here pretty soon when the new team comes on, it's going to look pretty different in a good way.
So you're still doing the work of 76 people, but soon you'll be 7 doing that work, not just 1.
Yeah, exactly. How wonderful is that?
I'm jealous.
Yeah,
Completely.
It's great.
So the reason I asked those questions of those particular people is I wanted to move towards those who are fairly new to the city, working for the city. So Malaysia, you've heard all these people talk about the jobs they had, the jobs they have now. So what's it like to sit at your desk and not know something about the city and be able to just say, does anybody know? How much does that help you in your job?
Well, to have all these fabulous people, it's great because you can use them as a resource while you try to navigate through your own job. And although I'm not really new to the city, I was an intern for the Innovation and Performance Department. It's wonderful, like I said, able to use them as a resource to navigate and just able to connect with somebody who's already been in the community, as known as Eric. That's always like great. He's like almost a mentor to me because I'm like, all right, if I don't know something, I know I could rely on Eric and everybody else, of course.
Camilla, same question. What's it like to, obviously, you know your stuff, you're doing your job, but navigating City Hall, what's that, what's your background and how did it prepare you to work for municipal government?
So yeah, I'm definitely very new to the city dynamics. I didn't intern here or have any experience. I actually am from a whole nother country. So I have worked in government agencies as a consultant for Guatemala and have collaborated with some agencies within the US, more of proposing projects with international aid. So I knew the politics in general of how certain things, especially when you're dealing with different departments and different government agencies. However, coming into the city, I really didn't know the dynamics, and it's been great to have people like Eric and Josh, and Laura and Alex who have been with the city for a long time to kind of help me navigate and not put my foot in my mouth and understand the politics even within the organization. I think I also asked that question during my interview, what is the political culture within the city? But coming from a nonprofit and ONG background, I really had a stereotype of me dealing with government agencies, of the bureaucracy and how hard it is to get things approved, or certain projects that seem a little bit more innovative or progressive are always shut down because it's very status quo. And that has been completely the opposite. So it's been
Right.
so refreshing to see how much trust in my skill set and experience from within the city, and how much everyone is just trying to really evolve and adapt after COVID, after last summer, after
Mhm.
all these important moments in our present history. So yeah, it's great to have them as resources. And Pittsburgh is a hard city to navigate. If you're not from Pittsburgh, you kind of feel like you're always an outsider. So now that I'm like working in the city, I feel like people embrace me more, and I'm understanding like all the dynamics of the city, aside from the Steelers, because that I get it at home and it's already annoying.
Well, I'll tell you two things. First, I've been here almost 9 years and I continue to put my foot in my mouth. So my staff will tell you that right away, how awful I am at that. Number two, I'm not from Pittsburgh either, but I'm not from another country. So I can imagine that's a whole other culture shock as well. All right. So Sheila, let's talk about your background for a little bit. I understand you have an MD behind your name. Is that correct?
Oh, I have a PhD.
Oh, PhD. Okay, sorry. What is your PhD in?
So actually, my PhD is in education, higher
Okay.
education. And my master's degree is in social work. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And I knew I wanted to be a professor, I thought, which I am. So I'm the director of the Master's of Social Work program at Carlow University.
Okay.
So I have two jobs. I'm doing that currently, but I'm doing this job in a part-time basis. When Laura talked to me about this office, about a year before I took the position, she described what it was. And I was so excited about the opportunity to be able to really dive in and make a change. And so I think this role is perfect for me because at Carlow, they encourage us to be scholar practitioners. And as a professor, I want my students to know that I'm not just standing up here telling you theory. I want to be able to get my hands dirty and actually do the work. And so this is such a wonderful opportunity to be that scholar practitioner, that I'm actually able to make change hopefully in the community and people's lives. I'm actually able to work with first responders, which I have done for the past 30 years in more of a therapeutic role. But it's sort of the culmination of my two favorite worlds, social work and working with first responders.
So let me make sure I understand this correctly. You are a college professor teaching classes and doing this other full-time job.
Yes. Well, this is part-time on paper.
Sure. So
yeah.
Everyone who's met me will tell you, because I won't shut up about it. My wife's a college professor, and I watch her and her full-time-ish job, super full-time job. I don't envision her having another job. I can't imagine how you must be awesome at time management.
It's challenging. I will not lie to you. And I've actually had this conversation with Laura. But the good news is that I have Dana to keep me sane. I am finding, I'm finding ways to make it work right now. I don't know that it will work forever. I'm going to have to decide which direction I need to go so that, I can be sane. But it was just, and I did talk to my bosses at Carlow about this before I took the job. So they know I'm doing this. And to be honest with you, they're very excited about me doing this because this work that we're doing truly speaks to our mission there. So, Yeah, it works. I'm happy. And I'll tell you, I can't imagine doing this without the people that you see on this screen. Poor Malaysia. She's like, I don't even work in the continuum of support program, but I'm like, Malaysia, I need to know something about the housing authority. So, I mean, just a world of it's a world of fun for me, truthfully, to work with the individuals here and to be able to share these experiences as well in the classroom with my students so that they know that, what really happens as a social worker.
So if I'm understanding everything you just said correctly, everybody needs a Dana in their lives.
You know what, she is so wonderful. She's like, I got this case. She's picking up cases. She's going out with our liaison from the first responder end. And she's my right arm.
That's great. Dana, I am not hiring, but I'd love to have you come work over here. But I'm sure Laura and I have to get into a cage match and duke it out for that. So Alina and Dana, as you've been listening, I'm sorry, Brennan, I missed you. I'm sorry about that. Brennan, let's talk about your role and learning from the people that have been working in the city for a while.
Yeah, so in my role, I like to think that I wear many hats. There's quite a few things that I do. So, I work a lot, with procurement, the procurement office and OMB. I work with our OMB analyst, Sherry, quite frequently. I apply to, grants, specifically with Josh, we just applied to one, deal with tracking those. And I'm also involved in the hiring process and, getting professional services contracts, through the city, which, takes some time, but, it's been a really good experience for me so far. I've learned so much, from all my colleagues who've worked in the city prior. And, if I didn't have them as resources, I would not be able to do anything in this job, frankly. So they've been, extremely helpful, with everything that I have to do so far.
Have you been following city council meetings in the legislative process?
Yeah. So last summer, I actually interned in the mayor's office, and, shout out to Ernest and Hirsch in the mayor's office. They were my mentors throughout that process. They taught me a lot about, legislation, city council specifically. So that's been, really helpful, and just, learning how the process works in general, because it's kind of hard to find things online about how city council works and how legislation works in general. So, I've been relying on the people that I've met through my time at the city for assistance, and, thankfully I've been learning, as I go along.
I'd like to think that despite my decades of TV experience, that the TV portion of my job is very small, whereas the psychology and legislative knowledge takes up a bulk of that. So I want to make 2 points. The first is a couple of you talked about, I believe it was Camilla who talked about how political politics are. I never realized how political politics were. I just never thought of that before I started working for the city. And the other point is, I come from a background where if something breaks and I need to buy a new one, I just buy it. I didn't realize there was a 3 to maybe 6 week process of getting that thing replaced. And it's not for it's just a matter of everybody making sure that we're spending money appropriately for the taxpayers. So I've found the legislative process fascinating, sometimes infuriating, but still fascinating. So I completely agree with you, Brendan, about that process. I do want to talk to Alina and Dana again. So here you are helping out the office as you can. Do you feel like your jobs are wide open? Like if you woke up one morning and decided I want to work on this new project that you can, or are there limits to what you can work on? And that's to both of you.
I think it's interesting because I have like my main project, which is Big Bird, the web app. But I know from just working here just over a week that if I wanted to go out, can you hear me?
Have you been here a week? Is that what you said?
Yeah, just over a week.
My goodness.
I'm brand new.
Okay.
But I know that I have the Big Bird project and I have a lot of opportunities to do pretty much whatever I want. And I can explore different avenues that intersect with my interests. And if I wanted to do anything, I know like I'd have full support if I wanted it.
That's fantastic. Dana?
I have feel that if I do have a passion for something, I can do whatever that I have a passion for. My passion, though, is really just to work with people who experience trauma. Direct practice is literally my passion. I've been doing it for the bachelor's level for the past 4 years. I have been, have my own trauma in my life, so I have experienced both sides of it. So I'm really, geared to help people in social work. So, but they've been, Laura and Sheila and everyone in the office been really encouraging to really explore different avenues if I wanted to, but I'm really in my passion project now, just working here.
That's fantastic. Laura, that's all the things that you've just heard. And I'm not trying to make you blush or make you smile and start to cry or anything like that. But all of this is a testament to you and the workplace environment that you've created as the first ever and making this office the first ever. How does it make you feel to hear all these people say all these great things about the office or the positions that they're working in right now?
Well, I think Sheila said the word at the beginning. There's a tremendous privilege to get to do this, right? And we know it's going to continue to be difficult and it's going to get harder, right? We're going to really get into it in the next 6 months, and it's going to be very hard work. And everyone here is already working hard, so I know it's a great privilege to get to do this work. But what's the only way we can is to have people who are so excellent, all on the screen. And many other excellent people out in the field doing work, and community members who we get to work with as well. And we wouldn't be able to do this without trusting one another. And I can tell you, I have the most significant faith in this group of people and in our partners, and it makes it possible. So I feel so proud to get to work with everyone on this screen. In these rooms out here and up there. It makes coming to work every day really exciting, even when it's sad and difficult and we're seeing really tough stuff. And I don't know, I think I could ramble on forever, but I'm totally humbled by the opportunity and so proud to get to work with this group of people.
That's fantastic. All right, so this is the part of the show, Alex and Laura know all about this, where I'm going to ask you I'm going to ask you each one question that has nothing to do with your job. And Alex and Laura, I promise not to repeat what I asked you in the past. So I'm going to go in the order of people that are on my screen. So Alina, my question to you is, can you recite the alphabet backwards? And if not, why not?
I don't know if I could answer why not, I think, but I can definitely try. It's Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, N, M. Oh, I skipped O. L, K, J, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A.
I don't even know if that's right, but that was amazing. So everybody in the Office of Community Health and Safety, you just learned something brand new about Alina, and it's amazing.
I don't think
David, I still have to sing the song to say it forward. like
That's
to
true.
know which the order. So I still can't even do that forward. I sing the song in my head.
Brennan, what was or still is your favorite childhood cartoon?
Oh, that's good. Honestly, probably Arthur. I watched it about every day, and sometimes if I'm in like a bad mood or whatever, I'll go on YouTube and throw on a short episode of Arthur. So I was really sad when they took it off the air. It was 10 out of 10, best show of all time.
But the amazing thing is it's still on YouTube and you can watch it anytime you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank God for tech.
Yeah. Laura, are you taking notes here? Is that what you're doing?
I did take a note there. Yes.
Malaysia, what is your favorite view of the city? And it's not the West End Overlook.
My favorite view of the city. Okay, if you go to the top of the cathedral, you can look over all of Oakland. So
I have not been up there. My wife went to Pitt 25 years ago, but I have not been up to the top of the cathedral. If anybody knows anybody,
highly recommend.
okay, if anybody knows anybody, let me know. Give me a call. Alex, you're the next one on my screen. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, that's easy. It's Ain't No Other Man by Christina Aguilera.
Wow.
Ain't no
Okay.
man can stand.
Well, there's copyright here, so we can't
Oh,
play it in the
bummer.
background, but okay.
Honestly,
Good to know.
it was such a messed up version of it. It probably wouldn't even meet the.
Okay. I will make sure I know that the next time we're together in a karaoke bar, which has happened so many times in the time we've known each other. Dana, on your sandwich, do you prefer fries or no fries?
Oh, gotta have fries. I'm a true Pittsburgher. Gotta have fries. Got to. Yes.
That's amazing. That's the correct answer. The people who have answered incorrectly have suffered the wrath of me. Although I'm not a Pittsburgher, but I still have, of course, when I got here the first time and saw that, I went, of course, that makes total sense. Just make sure that if you have fries on your sandwich, it's nowhere near Alex. Okay? It's good to know. Sheila, your favorite incline, is it the Mon or Duquesne?
I think that you're gonna think I'm a horrible person, which is the one that is the most central, that you look down over Station Square.
Oh, that's the Mon.
The Mon, because I don't know that I've ever been on the Duquesne, to be honest with you. I've only been on the Mon.
Okay.
But it is fun. I like riding it.
As I tell everybody, I like the Duquesne only because it has a parking lot right there, which with a 10-year-old is a very important aspect to it.
That is. I'm going to have to visit it now.
Okay. You're right across the street. You can't miss it. Who's next? Josh, what is the best COVID mask you have either seen or worn?
Oh, God. Well, so I remember back in the beginning of the pandemic, and I didn't see any of these in person, but I saw them online, where people were improvising COVID masks. And you saw pictures of people in grocery stores with like a party hat over their face, or like a gallon jug cut in half to fashion around their face. So I have to say some of those, although I saw a lot of creative Halloween masks when I was.
That's good. I know.
David, really quickly, Josh is a paramedic though, so he's always wearing approved masks.
I'll have to go with my P100 respirator that I wear. That's got to be my favorite.
It is the Office of Community Health and Safety, so we are all about safety.
So you're saying my Hannibal Lecter mask is not appropriate?
I'm sure it's completely appropriate, David. I
baiting us
empower
into
you to wear
an
your Hannibal
impression?
Lecter mask. You can go haunt the bowels of the soldiers and sailors where it was filmed.
Well, just so you know, last week the Soldiers and Sailors held a viewing of Silence of the Lambs and had the cage up in the big room where that scene was filmed. It was amazing. I've seen that movie 125,000 times and I still love it. I said to my wife, it's the first time I have ever watched a movie in a location where the movie was shot. It was kind of interesting. Camilla, what is your hidden talent that none of your coworkers know about?
Well, they already know about it, I think.
Okay, so tell me.
Wine tasting and wine pairing. But okay, maybe they didn't know I was a nationally ranked tennis player most of my life. In Guatemala.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So if all of us got together on one side of the tennis court and you were on the other, would you win?
I feel like Eric is pretty athletic, so you might get a couple games in.
Okay, that's fair. Wow, that's amazing. Eric, what is your last binge watch?
Last binge watch. Last binge watch. Oh, I watched Squid Game actually. That's my last one.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I liked it a lot actually. I thought it could be a little bit more plot twisting. I kind of see the end coming, but other than that, it was good.
All right, I'll put it on the list. Well, those are all the questions I have. I know I've taken up way too much of all your time. Does anybody have any last words of wisdom, anything they want to share about themselves or the office before I let all of you go?
Carry Narcan and learn how to use it.
I have Narcan in my office. It's on my desk.
Awesome.
We want to hear from everyone too. So I'll just add a plug. Our email address is ochspgh@pittsburghpa.gov. And if you, of course, know any of us, you can always reach out to us, our first name last name @pittsburghpa.gov. But we really do want to hear from people, and we want to hear from you a lot. So you matter, and we're here for you. And we appreciate all of our community members. And David, we really appreciate you too. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate all of you for all that you're doing, paving a brand new way for the city. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for the city to reach the right people with or connect the right people in the city with the right people in the city. So thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And for those of you at home, we'll see you next time right here on Meet the People.